And sometimes I hear people deliberately twist this to mean that Labour is asking for a declaration of a state of emergency in the entire country.
Which is not true.
But if you read the thing, they are clear. They say declaration of state of emergency. Then they go to explain. This should involve halting all mining activities in forest reserves and around water bodies, removing mining equipment from these areas, and deploying police and military forces to enforce these measures. 2, revocation of mining licenses. Then they go to explain. All licenses granted for mining in protected areas and near water bodies, including those under LI 2462, should be immediately withdrawn. 3, establishment of a special court. A dedicated court should be set up to prosecute individuals involved in illegal mining activities. Now, I want to ask, what is so difficult about this with respect to a government in a regime where we say that we are fighting illegal mining and we are prepared to put a presidency on the line for it? What is difficult about this? For example, if part of Newmont's concession is in a forest reserve, are we suggesting that Labour and all those who are calling for this will not understand when we say that, okay, we agree with what you're doing, but it cannot cover, let's say, Newmont's concession, because they have been doing this for this number of years. They have never flouted any rules. They are not involved in anything. They have not done anything illegal. They have been being in responsible mining all this while. Let's say something bauxite something. They've been mining here for the last 70 years. They have not done anything. We don't have any problem with their whatever. And so these exemptions ought to be made. Are we saying that we cannot? And I thought that perhaps that engagement was supposed to maybe go and iron out some of these things. The issue about setting up of special courts, what is the big deal about it? The issue of revocation of the LI,
which permits
the president to issue those licenses. What is the big deal? What does the president stand to lose if something that he didn't have but has been given to him about 2 years ago is taken away in a quest to fight this? What is difficult about these demands?
Doc, especially also because this same president saw it fit to impose to declare state of emergency in some parts of this country for similar reasons bordering on the security of the state. And I can speak of the Alavanu area, I can speak of the Boku area, I can speak of the Bimbila area, all right, under this same president. And let those who are confusing the issues, let them hear this. Under Article 31, 1 of the Constitution, it says the president may, acting in accordance with the advice of the Council of State, by proclamation published in the Gazette, declare that a state of emergency exists in Ghana or in any part of Ghana for the purposes of the provisions of this constitution. So you are so right that the demand by labor, the unionized labor, that a state of emergency be declared in areas that are most affected by the environmental degradation as a result of Galamsey activities are so apt and constitutional. Why? Because if you don't do that, because under state of emergency, special measures are introduced. The Constitution even tells you those who may be arrested under a state of emergency, the rights that they have. So if you declare a state of emergency around the Pra Basin regarding Galamsey activities, the Ankobra Basin regarding Galamsey activities, the White Volta Basin regarding Galamsey activities, the Black Volta Basin regarding Galamsey activities, the Afram Basin, which is also now affected, and the Densu Basin, then the state apparatus can move in to check the implements that are deployed in this environmental degradation. So that, for instance, when you told us in the past that you had confiscated 500 excavators from Galamsey sites and spent another public funds in bringing all of them to be assembled in Accra at a place around Adenta, and yet today we can't find these 500 excavators, we can ask proper questions. Because if you don't declare the state of emergency, there is no way you can use special measures to check the people who are operating in these areas. And also further direct the various responsible state agencies to, as a matter of urgency, go in and do reclamations of the environmentally degraded areas. So the call for a state of emergency is so apt. It is not over the entire country. But the government won't do this. The government, meanwhile, has rolled out policies, including the military and the army. I mean, if you didn't see this as so important, why would you deploy the army? But the army had been deployed in over 3 or 4 programs, which have all failed. Interministerial committees were put up. They've also failed. A 64-member committee was also put up. They've also failed. Galam stop, Galam fight, all those terms were coined. So now the people think that using the military in the first instance to champion the fight which failed, the people in the ground, they don't fear anybody any longer. Because you brought the soldiers themselves couldn't fight them, couldn't stop it. So it's only a state of emergency under which condition special arrangements, special protocols are rolled out that can deal with this matter. So it shouldn't be difficult because it's been applied before. Then again, the establishment of special courts. Look, we have courts have been set up to deal with energy theft. When you don't pay your pension deductions and all that, there are special courts that deal with it. There are courts that have been set up to deal with financial crimes. There are courts that have been set up to deal with economic crimes. There are courts that have been set up to deal with human rights abuse. Divorce and matrimonial causes, we have courts set up for it. So how is it that the judiciary, maybe acting upon in consultation with the advice from the Attorney General, say that we are setting up some courts to do with Galamsey related offenses? It should be able to be done. Because if you continue to prosecute Galamsey offenses as maybe as offenses on environmental infractions in the normal courts, people think that you are not elevating the fight against the menace. So let's see a special court set up. That should be easy. In fact, it should be one of the first things government or the Attorney General should welcome. So the non-response by government to these demands by organized labor, in this speaks to the nonchalance, the don't-careism, the laissez-faire approach that government, everybody thinks that now government is complicit in the matter. That is why it's unable to respond to some of these demands, which are very simple demands for me, given where we are, to dealing with the issue. So, Doc, again, I will say this. 500 excavators, they've all vanished. And excavators are monstrous machines. They are not toy cars. And Collins knows that for 500 excavators to vanish from where they've been assembled, it has to take a coordinated, orchestrated, state-sponsored program to move them back to where they were brought from. Otherwise, we should be seeing the excavators as the fruit of the first attempt to dealing with the Galamsey menace. And Randy, if we don't do this, as a people, we may perish. We are told that the only major river that hasn't suffered some form of pollution in terms of environmental degradation is the mighty Volta Lake. Perhaps also because it's so voluminous and it's huge and it's a lake. But Providence, by Providence, it still drains into the sea. So even if it gets polluted, it still drains into the sea. So you may not see, it's not stagnant. So you may not see the level of pollution immediately. But by and by, that volume of Volta Lake too may suffer. And we may then be completely undone. So we are in environmental crisis. That's why now people call the actors in the Galamsey activities environmental terrorists.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
And it has had impact on our cocoa production.
Okay.
Impact on our food production to the extent that today, his government, they've declared food insecurity. So that today Ghanaians who produce maize and cowpea and other cereals and grains in this country, they've been banned from exporting to, say, Cote d'Ivoire or Burkina Faso because government said we don't have enough to feed our people. They've gone into the contingency fund. They've taken 700 million Ghana cedis. Is that not what you have done?
But that's the whole idea of the contingency fund.
And you don't think that it's Galamsey that's giving us headache enough?
That's the whole idea of the contingency fund.
No, but you are linking this to a certain drought in the north. I've just returned from the north. It's raining everywhere. Every major stream in the north. Every major stream in the north is in flood.
What did you go to do in the north?
I went to campaign.